Hello, my name is Margaret Jane, and I'm here with my good friend Judith and Warren to celebrate the release of her book, Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity. I had a chance to read it myself earlier this week, and it's really a lovely collection of poetry with illustrations all by Judy. So I have a few questions to ask you about your work. When did you first start writing poetry?
Well, I first started writing poetry when I was in middle school, actually. By the time I was in high school, I had this group of friends, and we would all meet up and hang out outside of school and smoke cigarettes and read our poetry to each other. And yeah, it was like a little group that we formed, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what inspires your poems and illustrations then?
I'm an artist. As you can see, my book is also fully illustrated. Each poem has its own illustration. And I guess when it comes to being an artist, you basically are compelled to write whenever you feel an emotion. And I'd like to share a poem with you that kind of tells you where it comes from. This is my guitar. I'm not very skilled at the guitar yet, but I like to play it and it's fun. And this poem is called A White Sheet of Paper. The story, untold, an unexpected journey, exposed, wildly written, like wild feelings running wild inside your skin, heart, and mind, feeling, brimming, browsing, taking over, running down your spine, spine-tingling chill. Spill your thoughts and emotions on a white sheet of paper. Right away, an avalanche of events taken over by the emotional impact of you, the onlooker, the self partially impacted and reacting to an event in your mind, repeated and repeating itself on an unexpected journey on a piece of paper, foreseeing, reviewing the situation, the emotional impact of the event exposed on a white sheet of paper. Your vulnerability channeled into the oblivion of the artistic mind onto a white sheet of paper. All I need is a white sheet of paper.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to write this book?
So my whole life, I've been collecting all these poems that I've written, and it got to the point that I had like hundreds and hundreds of poems that I had written over time. And I had been collecting hundreds and hundreds of drawings and illustrations, and I got this idea, that I should publish it. I think that my whole thing is you should, especially as an artist, it's so important that we take our creativity and use it and channel it and share it with the world. And I wanted to share what I had been doing my whole life, share with other people, like-minded people. And I would like to actually read another poem with you guys.
Before you do, I just want to
Okay.
share this, this gorgeous illustration that accompanies it. I don't know if you guys can see that here, but it's really very, very beautiful. I love the colors that you use throughout the book are all just so vibrant and punchy. I love them.
Thank you, sweetie. And this poem that goes with this illustration of mine is called It's So Wrong, It's Right. And this is a little bit describing the question, the answer to your question. How right it is to feel so wrong. Tonight it is. What night is this? Another song to right my wrongs, to fight, fight, fight. Another night. 'Twas the night before mischief, mischief and doubt. My mind and heart were stirring as I re-entered my house. Loud shouts, I believe, that leave lingering resentment, centering in the mind's eye. My prospects are high. See this one-woman show that knows no bounds. Bare mutiny to discover oneself, some scuffle hopelessly through and through. These eyes, I see things I cannot describe, wise words to cure my anger, resentment, stage fright, make things seem so wrong, but feel so right.
That was beautiful. I love that. So this is so impressive. How long did it take you to write Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity, like the whole thing?
So once I got the idea to take all my poetry and compile it into the book, it took me, at first I downloaded a format on another site. It's being sold now on Amazon, my book, which I'll talk more about later. It took me about a year. At first, what I had to do is I had to figure out how to format it and put it into chapters. And once I decided to put it into chapters, it took me forever to figure out which poem goes in which chapter, what chapter I wanted to use that was most, I guess, would be like the most elusive to my writings. And I realized that most of my poems fall into certain categories. So once I did that, I had to spell check everything, which took God knows how long. Had to find someone who would spell check all my poetry. I'm not the best speller, you know. Doesn't always go along with being a good writer. And then once I finally got everything spell checked and I formatted the book, I had to actually rewrite the entire book once I got it up on the site just to get it published. And that took another so I think it was over a year, close to 2 years, putting the entire book together.
Like from start to finish.
Yeah, yeah.
But you said you had some of the poems written ahead
All
of
the
time.
poems were already written ahead of time. I guess the first poem that I decided to put in the book, I wrote it maybe 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
my
been
earlier
sort
stuff.
of many years
Yeah,
in the
many,
making.
many years in the making. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So as we sort of touched on, Moments of Clarity is a very extensive book with 212 pages. Did anyone help you put it together, or did you do that all yourself?
Actually, yes. My father is a writer. He wrote some books of his own, and he's kind of who inspired me to write. And he helped me with the editing. And then it got to the point my father got very busy, and then my mother stepped in, and she actually used to write. She wanted to be like a journalist, you know, and so she was, now she works at UJA, but she was a huge help to me I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the two of them and how they really stepped up and went through everything. I ended up emailing all the entire book to my mother, and then she read through the entire thing and emailed it back. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have the help.
That's amazing. It's
yeah.
so good to have people supporting
Yeah.
you in your craft. So, well, how did you come up with the book title then? Out of all of the material that you gathered, what was it that
Well,
stuck out?
So I was okay. So basically, it just came to me as an epiphany. I was thinking about a poem, and the poem was going to start with moments of clarity in times of disparity. It never turned into a poem. It was just like some words that rhyme with each other. And I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I'm writing about. This should be the name of my book, because that's what the book is about. It's moments of clarity when you're feeling in feelings of disparity, and that is the basis of my writings.
Like a phrase that kept coming back to
Yes,
you.
yes.
That's beautiful.
And I wanted to read you another poem that is a little bit about how I came up with this. I feel just fine because feelings are in your mind, not signs that are written. They are dismissed as they are given, that are driven by the living of life and trying to make things right by obliging to unconventional rules that are used to overcome the blues when you ask, what's the matter with you, when you feel something new. That's it.
I like that.
And yeah, and I have an illustration to go with it.
Oh, yes. This is... Would you like to explain this illustration maybe? Is there
Yeah.
an inspiration?
So every illustration goes with the title, each poem. And basically when I'm writing or when I'm drawing, I'm constantly drawing or writing what I feel. So as you can see, this is called Feelings, and it's a woman, and there's two sides of her. There's always two sides of feelings. Sometimes we're crying, sometimes we have a mask on, sometimes we're smiling. And as you can see, one side is obvious that she's crying. I don't know what it's kind of like a mirror emotion. What's the other side feeling? It's kind of...
It's open-ended, open to interpretation,
yes,
as all good art is. Okay, so how long does it take you to write just like one poem from start to finish?
I guess it depends. Some of my poems are very short. I have sonnets. I have actually 2 sonnets in there. Some of them are less than a page, or they're a paragraph. I have I have one poem in the book that's actually 10 pages long.
Oh my goodness.
Very long poem, yeah. It's about society and problems with war, and it's basically a collaborative of our societal issues. So it's a very intense poem, and it goes on, and it's very, deep,
More extensive.
extensive.
So
yeah.
was that something that you wrote, do you usually like in one sitting, or do you come back to things and rework them?
So I think that poem that's 10 pages long took me like a week to put together.
Yeah.
I kept, after I had written it, I went through it. I always write it on my phone. And what I'll do is I'll go through it, I'll check to reformat it, where the paragraph markers are, check if everything's spelled properly, if it makes sense. Sometimes when you're writing, your writings are not always coherent. They're just like all these words that are spilling out your feelings and your emotions, and you got to make sure that the reader understands what you're saying. So you can go over it and go over it and go over it until it feels right. My shorter works only takes maybe like a day. Boom, done.
Yes. So where could someone buy Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity?
So right now, my work is being sold on Amazon. I finally got, like I said, finally got the formatting put together. I'm so excited. You can buy the book from me directly, and I'm selling it for $35. If you can actually look me up online, just go to the Judith Ann Collection, www.judithanncollection.com. They'll give you a link where you can contact me to find out more about my work. You can look me up on Facebook directly. I have a business site, which is the Judith Ann Collection. Just shoot me a message, say you want to buy the book, or you can just go on to Amazon and buy it from them, which is $48, and just type in Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity, where you can find my work. And I'm really feeling like this is very exciting. I feel like the reader is really going to enjoy.
Good, good.
Yeah.
What do you hope to convey to the reader?
I hope to convey to the reader that, in times, I think a lot of us deal with personal anguish or struggles or pain. And I think there's a certain amount of clarity and open-mindedness that comes from these struggles that can really make you think outside the box. Like, some of the most beautiful thoughts and emotions come from the worst times of pain, and you just have that moment of clarity and you learn something, and it's not for nothing. It's not a mistake. And I'd like to share this poem with you called Life's Creation, which talks a little bit about that. I reevaluated life's hate by participating in fate. The long road of the abode, I tried to make light, to make right our ill sight from old fights with incoming waves of unsaved souls who are neither complete nor whole. We have unmet goals that life stole. Inside, I was hiding my admiration and humiliation for life's creation. I was blinded by today's tide that we ride, riding in with traders, trading, who invade us, raiding our space and our race, standing grand over another man who is tan, he who has a longer lifespan, has a plan to stomp over the stomping grounds of impoverished towns, to see millions upon billions of quadrillions of trillions of dollars. Good page. It's okay. To pay for soldiers, to kill children. Where there should be laughter, there is slaughter. For the growth of mankind has been intertwined with these lies that we prize for thousands of years. We have grown from our fears and our tears that tear us apart from our heart. We sail over uncharted waters just to slaughter another man's daughter. We stand over another man's grave, he who has been enslaved by depravity just to use Earth's gravity to ravish lavishly. We have unearthed and gave birth to so much hurt on our earth. We use and we abuse. We are unkind to the blind. We are scattered through the land, walking with broken hands rather than hands in hand. On this land that we stand alone, like a drone in the undertone of death, I wept and leapt to my grave. Life was so depraved, no one could be saved. We are all enslaved. And I have a little illustration that goes with this poem.
So, going along with what you're hoping to convey to the reader, do you think that your book sends a message? And if so, what would that be?
Well, like I said, my book is called Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity, and the message that I'm trying to send is that even in times of pain and grief or hopelessness, there is so much beauty to be found. Human emotion is more than just being content and happy all the time. Human emotion is about passion and feeling things to the utmost degree. And this poem that I'm about to read you is called The Meaning of Life, and that speaks a little bit about that. Random thoughts. Why do we think? What are our thoughts? Do they center in the mind? Where do they come from? What are our beliefs? What do we believe in? Is it just a fabrication of lies, stories we tell ourselves to help us make it through the day? What if there was nothing to believe? There was no God, there was no hope, our future was decided, our choices were made for us. We were not allowed to choose. Our own fate had been written, our own destiny decided, our future foretold, the meaning of life understood. We knew why we were here. We knew what we were meant to do. We did not question anything because we already knew. There were no decisions to be made. Everything had been decided. Our life was without question. We never did anything wrong, so we can never do anything right. We just lived. Life was just motions, actions we took. Nothing was random. Everything made sense. Everything was logical. Words disappeared from our vocabulary, like why, how, wrong, right, crazy, mean, selfish, insubordinate, happy, wise, successful. Our freedom of thoughts was gone. Our actions were mechanical. Would we be perfect?
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And also, this was the illustration that was sent along with that. So, now that you've completed your first book, do you plan on writing anything else?
Yes, I do. Well, one thing that I'd like to write, my next book is actually going to be an autobiography, and it's going to talk a little bit about my life. I had a very interesting and unusual life, and I always tried to make sense of my life because it was not the easiest life. And what I plan to do with it, and to make sense of it all, is to put it onto paper and to share it with the world. And I believe that my stories, which are unusual and interesting, and my whole life is just a fabrication of stories and stories and stories. And I believe for the reader, it can be very, you can learn a lot. You know, I've learned a lot, and I'd like to share it with everyone else. The other thing that I'd like to write before I do my autobiography is I'd like to do a second edition of my book. I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but since I have published my book, I have been writing so many more poems. I have so many more illustrations. And my book, as of now, is 212 pages, so it might end up being another 300-page book. But I think it's going to be great, just a fuller book.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So we are looking forward to hearing about that. I guess that about wraps it up for us. So again, you can get Moments of Clarity in Times of Disparity on Amazon, or you said on your website, which was what again?
The Judith Ann Collection. You can just Google me. It's www.judithanncollection.com. Or you can just go to my Facebook page. Once again, Google the Judith Ann Collection, or you could even Google the Starving Artist Company. Send me a message. The book is being sold for $35. I have a hard copy book, a soft copy book, and as you can see, it's just like a beautifully illustrated coffee table piece. And you can turn it around, and you can see like
Oh yes, there's our lovely
author.
authoress.
Yes. Yeah, and I hope to hear back from the reader, and I'd love after you purchase the book and read it, give me your thoughts. Tell me if you like it. Yeah, I'd love to hear from all of you.
Well, thank you so much for coming in to trading photos. My name again is Margaret Jane. That's all for today.